Final Fantasy XIV has released its latest minor patch, and personally, I think it's a big hit. I've been looking forward to this since Dawntrail launched. I don't think it's controversial to say Dawntrail has been Final Fantasy XIV's weakest expansion. It's been just short of 1 long year since Dawntrail first launched. But now, we've finally got its best feature so far, the Occult Crescent and its Phantom Job system. It's so good, I wish Dawntrail had something like this from the start.
The audacity!
Occult Crescent is a whole new area where up to 72 players get to take on big bosses and critical encounters. And it's been pretty fun. Since the content is fresh and everyone's still figuring out the fights together, there's been a lot of death, a lot of bodies hitting the floor, which you don't see very often in 14, at least these days. So the Occult Crescent sounds pretty epic already, but you also work towards a special relic weapon by defeating bosses, your Phantom Weapon. And exclusive to this area is the new Phantom Job system. This lets you equip new jobs like Cannoneer, Knight, and Chemist. These act as extensions to your current jobs like my Dragoon Cannoneer, that can jump about and do everything a Dragoon normally could, but with the extra benefit of being able to summon giant cannons to blast enemies to hell. You can mix and match jobs with 13 Phantom Jobs in total. As you defeat monsters and bosses, you'll level them up, unlocking new abilities and passives. Personally, I think this kind of RPG customization is what Final Fantasy XIV has been lacking for a very long time.
Is that so?
Mixing and matching 2 different jobs together was already a feature in Final Fantasy XI, 5, and I suppose number 12 as well with the Zodiac Age.
You're well informed.
While Phantom Jobs are currently limited to just the Occult Crescent, I'd love to see something like this become a permanent core feature to 14, maybe in a future expansion. But fat chance, it'd probably break how the game is currently balanced.
I suppose it could get pretty confusing.
So you start with 4 Phantom Jobs with an extra 9 jobs that can be earned. You can unlock or discover new jobs by defeating bosses or purchasing them with the currencies you earn here. You're encouraged to experiment with different jobs because each one you level up and master permanently increases your overall power. So far, as a Dragoon, I've found some really cool combos. Dragoon Knight is hard to take down with defensive abilities and healing. I thought Dragoon Chemist was really goofy because I could spend the entirety of fights just playing support and resurrecting dead people. But personally, I think my favourite so far has got to be Dragoon Cannoneer, just for being able to pull a giant cannon out of nowhere and blowing stuff up. Hey, if you're a big fan of RPGs, consider subbing to Bytes or liking the video for more content like this. Cover lots of RPGs, you might like my Final Fantasy series, where I'm replaying them all and ranking them against each other as I go. Thank you. Technically, the Occult Crescent is a field operation, and it has a very different vibe and feeling from the majority of content in 14. I'll be honest, it can be a bit mind-numbing running the same roulettes I've been doing for the past 10 years. But I love field operations because it breaks my Final Fantasy XIV routine. Instead of a linear dungeon or raid, you're just thrown into this huge zone, and you've got the agency or freedom to do whatever you want.
Whatever, I do what I want.
You could explore for treasure chests or discover hidden log entries, go solo, or group up and just farm regular monsters for currencies. Or you could do what most people do and team up to stomp bosses together. But there is a catch. If you die and return to the starting point, you lose a load of knowledge, which is like the experience points for this place. Lose enough knowledge and you can even de-level, which kinda gave me flashbacks of old Final Fantasy XI and losing tons of hard-earned experience points whenever I die. Thankfully, you can earn the knowledge back pretty quickly here, but if you die and someone resurrects you, you won't lose any knowledge at all, so you'll generally want to group up or stick with other players. The power of friendship is real.
With friendship and community.
Some of the bosses have very specific requirements to spawn, people are still figuring things out. I needed a certain boss for a side quest, so I farmed these ink stains in the area to force the boss to spawn. And defeating certain bosses has a chance to unlock new phantom jobs, so always be on the lookout for them. And boss fights or critical encounters are pretty awesome in general. There's lots of reused assets from other parts of the game, but everything mashed together feels pretty unique and fun. Flocks of black chocobos, armies of stone soldiers, giant deathclaws. There's a huge shark man boss and you'll need to dodge all his friends. One of my most memorable fights was with this giant pot, or urn, where you've got to watch these markers that telegraph where the next attack is going to hit. Sounds simple, but these markers are coming in so fast it was crazy. And doing this day one, it was so chaotic and fun, with everyone failing to keep up, and the floor was just covered in corpses. Now, I mentioned earlier that you can earn phantom weapons or a new relic. Basically, you need Demiatmas. There's 6 different types and you'll need 3 of each, so 18 in total. These have a small chance of dropping from critical encounters and little events, fates. Now, if you played A Realm Reborn, Demiatma might ring a bell, or you might recognise that icon. That's because these are a callback and the same icons that were used for Atmas. Now, a long time ago, Atmas would drop from fates and were needed for the original relics. Thing is, I remember the huge outcry from players that hated the unfair Atma system. Players would complete hundreds of fates without seeing a single Atma drop, while they'd frustratingly watch other lucky people get Atmas on their first fate. Well, over 10 years later, the developers have had the brilliant idea to bring the system back.
That doesn't make sense.
Now, that said, I don't think it's quite as painful this time around, mainly because I get to progress the Occult Crescent and level up my phantom jobs while farming Demiatmas. I was actually more disappointed after I got all 18 Demiatmas and acquired my relic, only to find it had a really low item level. I have a better weapon from running at older content on normal mode, but hopefully we'll be able to upgrade the relic further in future patches. The whole Occult Crescent is based on Final Fantasy V. You've got the Phantom Village hub, the Phantom job icons are straight from 5, and there's some pretty awesome music remixes. Once you've reached max knowledge level and complete side quests, you can also access the Forked Tower. This is a high-end mini-raid for 48 players, and it's inside the Occult Crescent, so you can make use of your phantom jobs. So lots of cool strategies you could come up with as a team. I think this sounds really cool. I really want to run this. I've heard people don't really use Party Finder for this, and I've got no raiding guild, so we'll see what happens. And this whole area is just the South Horn. This is only the first part of Occult Crescent. There's going to be a future patch that adds even more phantom jobs, and another patch after that that adds a second location, raid, and even more phantom jobs. Endwalker, the previous expansion, that didn't have any field operation, and I think it was a feature sorely missing, so really glad we've got one in Dawntrail. Occult Crescent might not be the biggest field operation, but got to admit, the phantom job system is fantastic, and I'm definitely going to continue playing this after my video. Overall, love the patch. Kind of sucks that patches are getting split up, but that's a whole other rant. It's genuinely some of the most exciting content we've had in Dawntrail, but I can't believe we've had to wait a whole year to get it. If content like this had been available closer to Dawntrail's launch, I really think Final Fantasy XIV would have retained a lot more players, and the expansion's overall reception would have been much more positive. What kind of blows my mind is that none of the launch zones functioned like Occult Crescent. Take Living Memory for example. It's basically a dead zone once the story's done. I extremely rarely, if ever, go back there. Why not make use of it and give players something to do, like this? I think Final Fantasy XIV has missed a lot of opportunities, especially in Dawntrail, but this is a win. Occult Crescent and Phantom Jobs are brilliant, and honestly it's some of the most engaging content we've seen in a while. I'm completely addicted to this. If you've stepped away from the game or felt underwhelmed by Dawntrail early on, this is a great reason to come back. And if you haven't picked it up yet, now's actually a great time to dive in. Alright, have a good one.